This is a battle we've never faced in my lifetime. I want to tell you about 416 of the most amazing people. Every day I get to see their skill, professionalism, and dedication. Their commitment to protect and improve the health of everyone in Hillsborough County. The last 2 months, they've been on the front line of a battle with a very dangerous enemy, COVID-19. And they've risen to the challenge in the most amazing, heroic way. Everyone has contributed, sacrificing their personal life, which they put on hold. They're making a difference for everyone they help, and every day I get stopped and told just how amazing they are. I'm proud and blessed to work with them, my second family.
Hello, I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Call 813-272-5900 and have a reservation made today. Visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for more information. Share this with a neighbor, and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
Hillsborough County has opened a majority of its conservation parks, trails, and nature preserves to give residents additional options for recreation and exercise. While parks can provide an escape and excitement, county leaders are urging residents to take precautions to protect themselves. To help stop the spread of COVID-19 while in public places, use common sense. Stay home and avoid parks if you're feeling sick. Practice social distancing. Avoid groups or gatherings larger than 10 and stay at least 6 feet from others while exercising. In addition to social distancing, Hillsborough County leaders continue to urge residents to wear cloth face coverings when in community settings. Bring your own water. Though parks are opening, many amenities will remain closed. Prepare for your visit by packing necessary items like hand sanitizer, and it's a good idea to bring your own disinfectant wipes to wipe down any public surfaces before touching or when touching public equipment. But remember, don't flush them after using. Residents who do not abide by the social distancing requirements or listen to instructions from county staff while enjoying the parks will be asked to leave the property. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for up-to-date information.
1.
Good morning. Welcome to the Hillsborough County Commission on Human Trafficking workshop. Today, we're going to have a series of breakout sessions to address strategic planning, basically, underlying strategic planning of how this commission moves forward and achieves its goals. The breakout groups are broken up into 4 primary groups. Each group will take into consideration ways that we can gather data on those efforts as well as measure outcomes of those efforts. But those 4 areas are outlined in the following manner. First is surrounding judicial and legislative affairs. On that group is myself as Commissioner Overman, Charles Klug, Charles, Major Jeffrey Harris, Public Defender Julianne Holt, and State Attorney Andrew Warren, who will be joining us shortly. Unless these changes, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, if there've been changes since then.
Major Harris is on there as well.
Right, exactly. And the next group is services and resources. On that group, a working group, is Kevin Durkin, Kathleen Kempe, Iris Valdez, Connie Rose, and Deputy Chief Lee Burkhoff. The next group, a working group, is communications and media. Jennifer Gleiston, Captain Rob Staley, Dottie Grover Skipper, Tina Smith, and Liz Gutierrez will take on that discussion. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is the education and awareness team. That team includes, is Jeffrey Harris on 2 groups? Because I have him on that group.
That was a mistake on my part. So actually, Corporal Baker will be on that group.
Okay, so I have on that group, and there is some duplications here. So Karen Perez, Brianna Taylor, Santiago Corrada. Is there 2 other individuals or 1 other individual on that group? Because I have Jeffrey Harris, who's actually on the legislative affairs, and
right.
As well as Chief Judge Ron Figueroa. So.
Okay, so the only change is that Major Harris is on the first group, and Corporal Gerald Baker is on education and awareness. So switch those out.
So it's pretty clear what mission they're on. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Curry and Sherry Sutton, since they are the team leaders and masterminds of this experience. And thank you all for participating. This underlying work is critically important to how the entire commission moves forward in light of our overall long-term strategy of addressing this challenge, but also in mind, to keep in mind, the efforts that need to be rapidly ramped up to address the fact that we've got a Super Bowl coming next year. So while that isn't the primary goal of all of these workshops, the goals that we established today will assist us in also addressing those challenges as we meet them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the process for arriving at those 4 groups was to interview each of the commission members, and I've interviewed all 20 to get a sense of their priorities. And then looking through the interviews, we culled out the themes from those interviews and then developed those 4 working groups based on the priorities that the commission members identified. The goal being, of course, to have a coalesced effort as a group to make sure that we're reflecting everybody's priorities. When you have 20 people in a room trying to determine a path forward, you have a lot of different perspectives and expertise. And so this was a way to honor that expertise and the diversity of experiences in the room, and to draw together diverse working groups to address the issue comprehensively. So each group will take a bifocal view. So one, of course, the short range is the Super Bowl. We have that. We can use it as leverage to really motivate the long range plan. And this is what we've been talking about throughout the meetings so far. So I was really thrilled that Sherry Sutton and Connect and Propel stepped up to the plate and said, we would love to do a project for you. We think this is an important issue. It's a priority for us as well. And so I'm happy to conduct this workshop process. So Sherry, thank you so much. You guys have put in a lot of work and offered to do this at no cost as a community-based project. So really appreciate it. And I will turn it over to you to start talking about the process that we're going to go through today.
Well, thank you, Heather. Yes, Connect and Propel Tampa is definitely interested in helping and doing what we can. And so what we've done is we've taken the community-based software that we use, and we've actually pulled out pieces of it for you to be able to connect to today and brainstorm. So we're going to be doing a little bit with technology, and the reason we're going to do it is because it will allow you, first of all, to do some rapid brainstorming together, and second of all, to really be able to break out in groups and come back together as the main group, sharing your ideas and pushing your work forward. So if at any time you have any questions or something's not clear, please feel free to just speak up or interrupt me or let me know. I'll do my best. And Dr. Curry, if you could help me with anyone that's raising their hands or needs assistance, but you may just feel free to let me know and I will be glad to answer any questions. So Dr. Curry gave you a great overview, and thank you to the Commissioner for pulling us together. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go through just a brief PowerPoint explanation. I'm going to show you how to use the brainstorming boards, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how to move into your working groups so that you'll work together, and then how we move back. And so that's all we're going to do today is brainstorm some ideas, and then as a group together, we'll see which ideas we like and which ideas we really want to help people move forward with. So we talked about the objective. The interview questions that Dr. Curry did was, what does breakthrough success look like? What does adequate success look like? And what does minimal success look like? And so those will be some of the follow-up questions that she'll be using when she works with the working groups. This data was sent out to everyone in the group, I believe, but this is just some of the feedback that we received. Breakthrough success looked like eliminating human trafficking, protecting and providing victim care, creating community awareness and education, creating a collaborative task force, and creating a media campaign highlighting realistic stats and risk. So those are just some of the things that came out of the interviewing. For adequate success, some of the things that came out of that was reducing human trafficking, education and training, sufficient resources in place, identifying a target audience, and police awareness and training. And then for minimum success for our task force groups, we said the media moving from sensationalism to realism, prioritizing human trafficking, a community awareness campaign, survivors as task force members, and even if we just saved one victim, that would be a success. And Dr. Curry could share more with you about the interviews and the data, but from that, we have these 5 areas of focus, 4 of which we're going to be focusing on today. And Commissioner already talked about the data gathering group, and that'll really be part of all of the groups. And so I want to talk to you about using brainstorming boards and how we're going to use this in today's session. So on my screen, you'll see this is an example of a brainstorming board, and I'm going to walk you through an actual one. But when you look at a brainstorming board, it's really just going to have on the left-hand side here, it's going to have cards or ideas that you're going to be brainstorming about. So for each of your different topics, we have some brainstorming ideas or topic cards we put in there, but each group will be able to decide their own. And so you'll just look at these topics and see if that's something you want to brainstorm on, and then we're going to brainstorm ideas. And so that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'm sharing my screen. So I just want to make sure we practice this. But so does everybody see a live brainstorming board on my screen right now? Yes, I see a nodding head, so that's good. I'm off to a good start here. So this screen that I'm looking at right here, this is a brainstorming board that we already have set up, and it says S&R. So which group do you think this is set up for? Services and resources. So I'm sure everybody is saying that, but I can't hear you because we're all on mute. And so we have a couple brainstorming cards set up here. We have inventory of services available, inventory of services needed, and mapping of services. So when you get into your groups, I'm going to ask you to pick or define 3 roles only for today in this group working session. We need 1 person that could be your group leader or your discussion leader. The discussion leader, your role in the group is just going to be making sure that everyone is heard. So if you have 5 people in your group, you just want to make sure that we're hearing from all 5 people. And we want to make sure that we don't jump into our working groups and then one person has a lot of ideas and everybody else just agrees, because we really want this to be a collaborative process where everybody's voice is heard. So if you choose to be the discussion leader, you're just saying, I'll make sure everybody's voice is heard as we work together. You'll need a timekeeper, and you're just going to make sure that we stay on time. You should have plenty of time to do the exercise, so you won't be rushed. But as we go through each, we'll say, you just want to take 2 minutes to decide who's going to have what role. And then you'll take a couple minutes to work on the cards. You'll have 5 minutes to brainstorm, and we'll continue to tell you this, but you'll have 5 minutes to brainstorm. And then you'll be able to talk about the ideas and what you're going to do. So that's what your discussion leader is going to be doing, is making sure that everybody's heard. Your timekeeper is just going to set their timer on their cell phone or on their computer to tell you when you're coming close to time. I should have given you more than enough time for each of these areas, but if it's taking a little bit longer, your timekeeper will say, we're at time or we're just about at time, but you're just making sure that everybody stays on task. So if you're somebody that likes everyone to stay on task, volunteering for the timekeeper would be a great thing. And then your last person is going to be your reporter or your report out person. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the boards. First, we're going to look at the cards. These are going to be our ideas that we want to brainstorm on. Then we're going to say, okay, everybody gets to brainstorm. Your technologist is going to click on these little buttons for you here so that you only see this brainstorming column, because this is all we're going to be working with, is the brainstorming column. They're going to have each of you, so everybody's going to have access to this board. And so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to have each person click on this group call button. When you click on the group call button, you'll be taken into a group call. This is what the group call looks like right here. And so I'm facilitator, that's me. So you'll see I'm already in this group call, and I will actually post a PowerPoint slide for you here so you'll be able to see the different roles. But on your group call, that's going to be the separate tab at the top. So you're going to see ComNexus, that's your brainstorming board, and your second tab is going to be your group call. You actually can stay. Once you launch this group call, you can stay in your ComNexus board, so you can work in your board the whole time. The group call will just allow you to hear each other so that you can talk while you're clicking on the board. If you need to see each other at any time, you could go back to your group call. Right here at the bottom of the screen are the buttons that you're familiar with from using WebEx. There's a mute, unmute, so you'll want to unmute yourself, and there's a camera button. So when you show yourself on the camera, you could actually see each other in this group call. It's most important for you to be able to hear each other while you're working on the boards. So that's going to be one tab, the group call, to make sure you can hear each other. And if you need further discussion, you can say, let's meet on that tab, and you can see each other and have a conversation. It'll only be the people in your group, and you'll be able to see everybody. And then you'll be able to click right back to your ComNexus tab at the top here, and you'll be able to work in your brainstorming board. So once you have your topics or your ideas that you want to brainstorm on, you can click this plus sign here, and it's going to bring up a card. So it brought up this add new card for me, and this allows me to look at topics, ideas, and if I needed to put additional information, I would put it here. So what you're going to do, you click on the plus to add the new card. There's a down arrow right here. And when you click on the down arrow, I might have an idea for inventory of services needed. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to put my idea. So whatever idea I have, I would put in right here. So I'm going to have an idea of services needed. And then if I needed to put an additional description for people to understand what I meant, I could put it here, but it's optional. And then I'm going to click save. Once I click save, that idea is going to be added to the board. So you're going to have 5 minutes. You'll leave your card open the whole time. And 5 minutes is a long time. You'll probably have, the first minute or two, you're going to have a lot of ideas. And then you'll have to stop and think if there's anything else that you want to put up there. So 5 minutes will give everybody in the group more than enough time. And it will give you time if you need to get comfortable with the card. So don't worry about rushing. And so you'll be able to click on your topics here. And every time I click on the down arrow, I can just choose a different topic if I want to choose a different one, and I'm going to put all of the ideas I have for that topic. And so this is going to be my entire process. And so then I'll put another idea here. And so I'll have idea of services available. And so at the end of 5 minutes, I'm going to have an entire list of brainstorming ideas. What will happen is the technologist is going to help you with the board, so they'll be able to work on it, and they'll make sure at the end everybody's ideas show. So at the end of 5 minutes, the timekeeper will say, our time's up. Everybody's ideas are going to show on the board, and then the group discussion leader is going to actually read through the cards with you, and that's when you're going to identify if you had duplicate ideas, because everybody's putting their ideas in at once, so you'll probably have some ideas that are the same. So if you have duplicate ideas, you'll address those as you go through. And if you want to change where your ideas are grouped to. So each card, you see the cards I put in? On the blue right here, it says admin, and then this red says inventory of services needed. So it actually tells me who put in the idea and what the services are. And the reason is when you click on the link to enter the board, it's going to ask you 2 questions. It's going to ask you to put in your email, because we want to verify and validate that your ideas are allowed to be added to these boards, so who you are. And it's going to ask you to put in your name. Whatever name you put in while you're entering the board is what's going to show up right here. So I entered my name as admin, and that's why it shows as admin. So you could put your first name, your first and last name, but what the name you put there is the name that's going to be attached to your ideas. And that way, if we have any questions or we want to know more information, we know who to ask. So your discussion leader is just going to talk about the cards. While they're talking about the cards, your technologist will click on the card for you. And then you can say, if it's a duplicate, you could say, I want to delete this card because it's a duplicate. We already have it. And they're just going to right click on it and delete that card for you. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this card because I know that you don't want this in your ideas. And so that will just make the card go away. Or you might say, you know what, we need to change the topics on the left-hand side to make this easier to understand. We really should have added a topic that says services needed internally and services needed externally. We want to break that out now. So what will happen is your technologist will help you with that, but they'll just be able to add over here a card. They'll type in the new one, and then they'll be able to take your brainstorming cards that you have here, and they could say, I'm going to close these down again, just so you can see the board clearer, but they'll be able to click on this card for you, and they'll say, okay, we want to move this card to another topic, and we're going to click on internal, and so that will change the grouping. So you're going to spend about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes on this section. And the reason this is so important for you is because when you're done with this, these are the ideas that you're going to bring back and share with the main group. So where we are right now, I call this the plenary, but the main group where we're having this discussion. And so each group individually is just going to come up with their brainstorming ideas. You're going to bring these brainstorming ideas back to the main group. And so you're going to be able to just talk through, these are the ideas that we came up with. There's no limit for the number of ideas that you need to have. Your group might have 4 ideas. Your group might have 24 ideas. As long as everybody in the group where they were able to talk about the ideas and they're able to group the ideas so that they work for you, you'll present that back to the main group. What we would like to do is when I bring you back to the main group, I would like everybody to be able to click on your board. So Dr. Curry sent everybody the links to all 4 boards. So right now you'd just be working on your board. And then if I came back and presented, if I was part of the services and resource group, I would present the board, I would present the ideas, and then we'll say, okay, if everybody could open that board, so it would be in a tab for you, then you could tell us which ideas you like the most, and people could actually click on like to tell us which one they like. So we could have everybody tell us which one they like the most, and we could have that information, or we could just have each group present out the ideas and then just tell us this is what we've come up with. And so we'll really let you, as you're working in your groups, if you want to get feedback from everybody in the group, we'll have the option to like it. If you really just want to present, this is everything that we came up with, and just ask people to verbally give you feedback, that works too. So we're really going to let you drive that process. But the outcome, did someone have a question? I just get talking. The outcome is that you'll have a list of ideas, and you'll actually be able to export this list to Excel. You'll be able to keep all of the information that you have. You'll be able to present it to the group. And from this list of brainstorming ideas, you'll be able to meet again, create a stakeholder map to figure out who you want in your working group, who you need to accomplish these goals. And then you'll be able to start actually doing the work and creating your action plan. So that's a lot of information, I know. And that's why I have a technologist in each group that will help when we break out to the working groups. So we'll help you walk through the process. But the main things are, you just want a discussion leader, a timekeeper, and a reporter for each group. And you just want to be able to have an open mind to create these ideas for what you'll want to work on. So does anybody have any questions before we move into our brainstorming groups?
I do.
Okay, great.
You are absolutely correctly. That was a lot of information, and I remember about a third of it. So
Okay.
I'm glad that we have a technologist available once we get there. And you made reference to Dr. Curry sent us an email to know how we get to this tool.
Yes.
If we're not locating the email, how do we get there?
Let me try to send that to all of your emails.
Oh, great. Okay, because I do see an Excel
I
spreadsheet.
don't know why you wouldn't, but
I do see the Excel spreadsheet, but I don't see the link. So
yeah, it's titled link, and it went out to the distribution list. So let me just do this.
Okay, I just thought maybe I missed something. So obviously I did. So I thought maybe somebody else did too. I like the tool. I do think we're gonna need help, but that's great that it's available. And this will be a great way of documenting our process today. Thank you. That was the only question I had.
Sherry, this is Dottie Groover Skipper. I have a question. It might be a silly one, but will the screen that we see be larger than what we're seeing here on your screen for us who might have compromised vision?
So that is such an excellent question, because the screen that you see is actually going to be on your computer. So your actual Google Chrome is going to open, and you'll have total control of changing the size of it. So you can make it as big as small as you want. So I'm just sharing my screen so it's a little bit smaller because we're on this WebEx view. But when you launch this, it's going to be on your Google Chrome, and so it'll be the size that you normally have it, and then you'll have a second tab next to it that'll open here. And so for some people, for the WebEx, you actually have a app that you're running, so you'll just minimize that on your computer and you'll see this on the main screen. That was an excellent question. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Any other questions? The fun thing about it is everybody gets to type on the boards and do it. So you won't just be, passively there. You'll be able to work on the boards, and you'll have someone help you if you get stuck.
Sherry, this is Santiago. Physically, how are we going to jump into these work groups? Because I know we all have a link. Are we minimizing what we're on now and going through the email? How physically are we joining these groups? Because, I've done a million of these Zoom meetings, WebExes, probably get a prize for doing the county ones because I've done about 10, but I don't know physically how I'm supposed to jump off of this and get into that group.
Excellent question. So what you're going to do is when we're ready, we'll have everyone turn off their camera and mute themselves unless you are in the judiciary group, because you're going to be remaining here. So you won't turn off your camera or your microphone. But if you're moving into a different working group besides the judiciary group, you will turn off your camera, you will turn off your microphone, you will minimize this group, or you can leave it up on a tab, depending on how you have it on your computer. You'll go to your email, you'll click on the link that Dr. Curry sent corresponding to the group that you're in, and then it will launch Chrome. So you'll actually be separate in Chrome. And once you get into Chrome, I wanted you to be able to get into the brainstorming board first. Then you'll click on this group call button. And this group call button that you click on is what's going to launch this tab, so that you have your second call for the working group. So I will know if you're not in your group that you had an issue getting to the brainstorming board and putting this in. And actual process is you're going to turn off your camera, turn off your microphone, minimize this meeting, go to your email, click on your link. When you click your link, it's going to ask you to put in your email address and your name. And then once you put in your email address and your name, it'll launch the board. And when you get into the board, you're going to click on group call. If at any time you get stuck or you have a problem or you get lost, you can return to this group, because I'll be in this group and then I'll be able to help you in that process. So these are all great questions. Does anybody else have a question?
So I have a quick question. So initially, Sherry, I'd wanted to bounce around between the groups to kind of get a read on each of them, but it looks like we need one more technologist. So, because if you're going to stay in this one and we've got James in this one, we need somebody else elsewhere, right? Okay.
Well, I can have James. James, are you comfortable with the brainstorming boards? You could stay on this group and I could move to a different group if you would like.
Yes, absolutely. My intention and understanding of this workshop was that I would stay in the WebEx. I am only a WebEx expert.
Perfect. Thank you, James. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any hands raised. So are we ready to break out?
Well, we'll find out soon enough. Did your email go out so everybody has it? Okay, so let's turn off our cameras. And if you're leaving this group, turn off your camera, turn off your microphone, minimize this, and then we'll move into our working groups. So.
And I'll stay with this one for a little while and then start bouncing around.
Okay. So here is this group. So do you want to make sure that everybody's here that we need?
Yes. So we have Commissioner Overman, I see. Charles could not be here today. Major Harris, are you here?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, okay. I see is here. And so we're waiting, I know, on Mr. Warren. I don't know when he will be arriving, but right now we've got the 3. So we'll start with that.
How do we turn you guys on?
Was that a question from someone?
It's Connie. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, because I went over to my Cisco, my other group, but I could hear you guys talking. So, and I, of course, muted myself. How do we not hear you in that group talking?
So if you're hearing us, then you'll want to close out of this group and then just relaunch it when you're done.
So totally close out? And then
Totally close out of
Hello.
WebEx, and then you can return to it.
I am going to close the WebEx. Let me put the
Okay.
muting on this.
Okay, so Tom and David and Sam, we need to tell everyone to close out of the main WebEx because they'll still be able to hear what's happening in the main WebEx.
Okay.
Hi, this is Brina Taylor. I'm clicking on my link. Is Google Chrome the only browser where it will work?
Okay.
It's not the only browser, but it's easiest if everybody is on the same browser.
Okay, because I don't have Chrome on this laptop, and I've tried Firefox, and it's just not coming up.
Yeah, Sherry, it's Connie, what I found is I had to literally go into Google Chrome to get in.
Okay,
Okay.
so
It
let me
wouldn't
try
go
to
in and Google
to download Google Chrome if it will let me.
Rena, you can also do the call-in.
I may just do that.
Okay. I sent those links out as well.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I know that we're negotiating the virtual world and it takes a little bit of, there's some hiccups along the way.
So what we're going to do is we're going to hold here, and as soon as you get into your group, we'll have you close the WebEx, and then we'll know everybody's in the group.
This is Kathleen. I don't have that link. I have the phone number, but I don't see a link.
I'll send you the links again, Kathleen.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So Tom, you need to close. Everybody who's in a working, everybody who's in a group will need to, everybody
Hello, can you
who's,
hear me?
Hello? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Why are you still hearing the WebEx?
because you have to close the WebEx.
I close it.
Who's speaking right now?
David, the technologies of communication and media.
Gotcha.
Hello.
I'm going to go to each of the groups and do a roll call real quick.
Yeah, I'm coming out. So I'm coming out of WebEx and going into the group. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, for those of us who are on the phone, do we need to log into or call into some other number or?
All right, we're going to start here in 2 minutes. I just need to get everybody off.
Okay.
We're going to hear the other groups for just one moment.
Okay. Rena Taylor, are you still there?
Okay, so who are we still having issues? James is here.
I just got a message from Liz Gutierrez in Communications and Media. She said she's there, but no one's there.
Communications and Media.
Hey, Sherry and Heather.
Hey, you just stay where you are, Commissioner Overman. You're in a good place. You're right where you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I linked in and I was like, okay, I'm in here by myself. Where am I?
Just stay where you are because you're going to stay on WebEx.
Okay, that was where I was.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, now move this over. Put that up there. Okay, are we checking in with the other technologists to make sure they're up and running? Because I was a little lost.
Okay, Heather?
Yes.
Can you, if you stay in this group, I'm going to log out, go into each of the other groups, and then I'll join you back in this group. You can start using the board if it clears the noise, okay?
Okay, and I tried to log into services and resources. I'm not seeing anybody there either.
Well, you're not going to see them there unless you're on the group call.
Right, I joined that. It says that I'm, okay, hold on.
Heather, when I log into services and resources on the link, I get into data. I'm on the data team.
Okay, that's odd. Actually, we don't have a data team anymore. So I'm on the
I know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm doing, if I'm doing something wrong, but when I logged in, that's where it took me.
Let me see. I'm sorry. Who's calling? I'm not looking at the.
It's Kathleen.
Okay.
I want to make sure Sherry, I'm going to go ahead.
All right, Kathleen, I'm sending you that. Let me try this one again. Because I'm on it right now.
All right. I will get out of this. Go to my email.
Get Sherry off of our call.
Okay, I'm on your call.
Sherry? There we go. Okay, let's try that now. Can everybody hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. So let me know when everybody's clicked on the link in the chat to get to the Kanban boards. Let me know when the board's open.
Hello?
I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Is there anybody else on here with us?
I see Ms. Holt. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
And we do have a few other people that are still connected. Morning, Major Harris. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
Laura is still here. Let's see. Jennifer is still here. And Kathleen's still here.
Okay, is this our group?
Yeah, let me look at that list. We should have, if I'm not mistaken, if this is Judiciary and Legislative Affairs, we should have me, Charles Klug, who I'm not sure checked in. I didn't see him on the list of participants earlier. Major Harris, Julianne Holt, and Andrew Warren when he checks in. If someone is available to assist him when he does, but if he logs in here, then he'll be here. He just won't have the LinkedIn tool. The Jitsi tool. But Sherry, you running that tool for us?
I am.
Yay, because I'm still going, oh my God.
Okay, so we will start with looking at who we want to be the discussion leader. So who wants to lead our discussion to make sure that we're hearing everybody's voice?
This is Major Harris. I'll do it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Major Harris. And then I can be the timekeeper for our group. And then who's going to report our ideas out to the main group?
Well, there's really just three of us here, so I guess somebody's going to do it. I'll do the presenting. Julianne, you're going to keep our time?
I can keep the time if you want. If you want to report out, that'd be great.
Okay, we've got a lot of echo with you for some reason, but yeah, that would be terrific because I'm terrible at keeping time.
Okay, so what we're going to do first is for our category, we're going to have 2 minutes to just look at what type of topics do we need to brainstorm around. So our goal is to really decide for this task force to focus on before, during, and after the Super Bowl, what do we need to do? What do we need to accomplish? And in our judiciary and legislative arena, what do we need to talk about or focus on? And so we have 3 topics here. We put judiciary, legislative, and ordinances. Are there other topics that you think we need to talk about or that we really need to brainstorm around for what we're going to need to accomplish? And we want to make sure we're not on mute so we can hear each other.
Sorry. In my opinion, there's the approach when it comes to the judiciary and the legislative process. And when we're talking about legislative, is that enforcement? And I'm trying to get clear that here's where I'm going. When it is discovered, when we get a report, when we get the information that there's a incident of human trafficking, no matter where it comes from, but let's say when we get it, and an officer is called, that officer responds to, or if there's an appearance that there is something going on that is currently illegal, which is prostitution. That interaction and the path that it takes makes a really big difference in the judiciary situation. Because historically, what we've done is basically, unfortunately, made law enforcement the bad guy and not someone who's trapped in trafficking trusts them. And because prostitution is illegal.
Right.
So while they're trapped and they may be forced to do something either just under circumstances or economically, they're making a choice to do something, or they have no choice to do something. they're getting arrested for something that's against the law. And frequently there's also other things. So I'm trying to figure out on the law enforcement side and then the judiciary side, how that flows to address an outcome that allows someone to make a different choice and choose a different path and be supported in that process.
So on our brainstorming, when you're thinking about that, what would you suggest we focus on to help with that issue?
So this is Julie, just I think going to where the commissioner's trying to do it. This is really not so much judiciary as much as it is the court system as a whole, which would include obviously law enforcement. At least this is my take. So do we go down a dependency route? Do we go down a delinquency route? Do we go down an arrest route? So it's really the system as a whole, which would include law enforcement that could begin the criminal process as opposed to the community process, for lack of a better word right now.
Yeah.
So if I put system, would that encompass it? Because this is our objective. Let me tell you what our objective is, and then and we can actually change it afterwards if we want to. But the objective is for our brainstorming that we're going to click on a card on our board, and so when we do this, we're going to have this brainstorming card that we click on, and we're going to say, what is our idea? So for our task force, our working group of helping with these issues that could be judiciary, legislative, law enforcement, we're helping. What are our ideas? Are we partnering with other groups that are existing? Are we finding out what the ordinances are and what we need? Are we forming a new group that needs to help? And so these cards on the left-hand side are really just there to help you think of other ideas. So if we said, so if I changed the card on the left-hand side to be, who do we need to partner with? Then you could brainstorm all of your ideas for partnering. Or if the card on the left-hand side was, what system changes do we need? Then you could brainstorm on the system changes. So I'm just trying to really get you to think about, who do we need to partner with and what do we need to do to make it work?
Okay. Well, I think we do need to partner with law enforcement and the judiciary, and the courts.
Okay.
So that we don't, so that the outcome gives the victim, treats the human trafficking victim as someone that needs freedom. I mean, that needs to be able to get out of the position they're in, rather than, persecute them for creating a crime. And because frequently the choice issue isn't really fully addressed. So, for example, one of the systems that I've seen that addresses this issue is the Tyler program. That is a therapeutic treatment court that actually provides support and rehabilitative services in lieu of jail. So instead of treating the victim as a criminal, we treat them as a person who needs to be supported in making a different choice. Because right now they're in a different type of prison, and they just move from one type of prison to another prison. It's like locking up someone that's in a prison situation, and putting them in jail isn't necessarily solving the problem. So I don't know how to get to where we're trying to go. Sherry, I'm not good at this.
Well, I think that's perfect. So right now, the categories that I have down are courts, judiciary, law enforcement, legislative, ordinances, and system. We might need more than that, but when you look at your board, can you see all of these categories on the left? So what I would like you to do is I just want you to take we'll take about 4 minutes is probably all we need. We can push that time longer if we need it, but I want you to click on your brainstorming card. So on that plus that brings up your card so that everybody has an add new card. So does everybody have a card? I want to make sure. Yeah, yeah. Major Harris, is your card up?
Well, I have a slot where I can type something in when I hit the plus sign.
So it should have a card just like the one on my screen. Can you see my screen that says add new card? It should say topic, ideas, description.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I just want you to take a couple minutes and just put in your ideas. So you could put it under a topic, or you could just leave your topic as system for all of your ideas and put your ideas in, and then we'll be able to move them. But I just want you to take a couple minutes and just put in any ideas that you have and click save. And this is any ideas for us to advance the work under the judiciary and legislative umbrella. And so I just want to get everybody's ideas that they have in the boards, and I'll just give you a couple minutes to type them in. And it doesn't matter what topic they're under, because I can move them to whatever topic you want. I just want to start looking at what ideas do you have for us to advance this work.
Hey, Sherry, this is Julie. My board went away.
Your board went away?
Mm-hmm.
The one, do you have it launched separate in Chrome?
Yes.
Do you want to click on the link that Heather gave you? Is it minimized? I closed the board I was sharing so that you could work individually on your boards. I wonder if it's minimized on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Okay. Yeah, Julie, that was you for some reason.
Yeah, I'm on mute.
Oh, we lost her.
Yep, we lost her. No, actually, she's still here. She just muted her screen.
Oh, okay.
Well, wait, that's wrong. No, she's gone. Yeah, she logged out of the WebEx when she was trying to log into the system, probably.
I don't think she was using the link to open up the board. I think she thought that the link that Sherry had.
Yeah. Come back.
All right, so we have one group coming back.
Back. Don't need that one.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I keep whatever I'm on shows up, but then everything else disappears.
You're doing it correctly here. I can.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go.
Yeah. Excellent. And Major Harris, do you have any other ideas that you want to put in there?
Not now. I mean, that's the major one that it seems can never get accomplished. That's the biggest thing on the streets is, I mean, we can't get these people into drug treatment, and that's 99% of the time. That's the vehicle for coercion.
That or homelessness.
Correct.
We lost Julianne. Let me see if I can text her.
Come get it,
So for the groups that are joining back that aren't part of our main group, as you join back and you're working on your Google tabs, one thing is if you could open the email that Heather sent you and see if you could open the other boards so that you could actually see what's happening on the other boards as we talk about them. So that'll be our technology challenge for the morning to see if that's possible. And for my group, working on the judiciary and legislation, if you want to just look at, I have all of the ideas showing on the board. If there's anything else that you want to add, remember this is just our initial brainstorming. So if there's anything else that you want to add to that before we report out to the main group, we'll just go ahead and put our final ideas in there.
Sherry, this is Judge Figueroa from Education and Awareness. We're coming back to the main group.
Excellent. Welcome back. Did you get some ideas in your board?
Oh, we got some great ideas. I think
I love hearing
very,
that.
very impressed.
I'm already impressed just that you were able to get there and get back.
Believe me, I was too. It took me a while. But I finally got there. But we had a good group.
We knew this would be new for everyone, and it could be a little challenging in the beginning. But as you're able to see the benefits, you'll be able to work with the boards in your group, and you can invite other people using them to really get your ideas down.
Santiago did a great job.
Sweet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I echo that, Santiago.
Thank you.
Hey, we were just getting sort of going when you guys came back, so clearly somebody did a great job.
I want to switch to Santiago's group.
We got a great group of educators and smart people, so we did really, really well.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so our next step is everybody come back, but keep their board open so they can talk about what they're.
Yes, and I'll be able to display each person's board.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
For everyone to see.
So who's the presenter on the education awareness team? Yay, what a surprise. Okay, and so is the communication and media back? Can't tell. They're not back yet. And services and resources?
We're back. We're all back.
Okay, you guys are back, all right?
Yes.
Oh, so we're just waiting for communications and media, I think.
Okay, so let's see.
Well, I will tell you, I've done a lot of virtual meetings. And this one had the most steps I've ever had to do. Oh my God. I thought I was good at technology until I tried to figure this one out. But it is pretty cool when you figure it out. So
We, and Heather and I kind of went back and forth on the best way to get everybody in there. So we're like, well, we'll just get them to give it a try, be able to do it. And then she'll be able to help lead you through. We wanted to make sure that we complied with all of the recording to make sure that we were available for the public and that we could bring people away and have them come back. So let me just get Heather back here. And make sure all of our groups are back.
yeah, because we have about an hour and a half, right? Or till 12:30? Is that what our?
I think we only have until 12.
12.
Okay, 12.
It was 12.
Yeah, 12 o'clock. I have another meeting at 12, so it's
People started panicking. 12:30, what? No.
Okay, this is why I asked. People pinging me nonstop over here going, when am I going to get to talk to you? So I wanted to see where we were as far as time is concerned. Okay.
Yep. And so we can jump right in. I'm just waiting for Dr. Curry to get back. And she is coming back.
Okay. Yeah, we still don't have the communications and media folks yet.
We lost them. They're communicating.
Yeah, who'd think that would be what was happening? Okay. All right, dangerous group. I do see Rob here, you're back. Rob, did you lose your team? I don't see Dottie either.
I don't see Jennifer.
Yeah, Gina, and yeah, you know what? Yeah, they're on the right team. They're all communicating quite well. All right.
Well, I like that they're communicating. That part's good.
Oh, somebody's coming back. Oh, there's Heather.
Okay.
All right, just putting out some fires over in the communications and media team.
Yep, they're the only team that's missing so far. So, you know, we figured with that topic, there are a bunch of gabbers all in the same room.
Okay.
Is probably a dangerous
I
thing.
can text Dottie and Liz and let them know to come back.
Okay.
They've had Jennifer Glaser was on that and she couldn't access her microphone. So David's been trying to help out over there.
Sweet.
Yeah. Otherwise it worked out. It was fine. They had some great ideas. So
sweet. So happy Juneteenth Day to everybody.
Yes.
Say that earlier. And then happy Father's Day to all those dads out there. That's Sunday.
And to any moms that play a dual role. Some moms play dual roles. They must be acknowledged.
I got mom, grandma, mom, and dad, and grandma and grandpa all right here. Okay. All
so
right.
we'll just cover you with every holiday.
So I see.
Or you could just say, Kimberly, every day is a day for you because you got all the bases that you have to cover.
Of late, that has been the extreme case. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Curry, you're going to have to let us know if we're ready with our teams here.
I'm calling Dottie right now.
Okay.
Now we have access to this later. Is this this is all going to be put together and then?
Heather, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Yes, you will have access to this later, and you can export all of your ideas to Excel.
Hey, Dottie.
Okay, I'm here.
So for a lot of us, this was a good exercise in staying calm and having this new experience of technology. So I know for some of us it was a little bit jarring. For some of us it was a little bit easier. So I do apologize for that. We didn't want to do a whole training in advance for everyone. We wanted to bring you together with your ideas. When you get back together in your working groups, you will still have access to your board. Your information will be there and you'll be able to do it. So this is a great opportunity for you to really think about it, but we wanted to be able to have enough information populated in your boards and give you enough so that you'll know if you need additional support, additional help, what you need to continue to grow your groups, because we know that you have some time constraints on what you're trying to accomplish. So we did make the executive decision on our team to just jump in and get you started. And so I do promise for anybody that has questions or needs additional information, we will be here to help you. And Dr. Curry is pretty much an expert now, so she'll be able to support you as well. So I do thank you. And if you did have any frustration, I apologize profusely in advance. Part of what we're working on doing is really getting everybody on board. Normally, I would have had kind of a control panel that people click on, but I just wasn't quite sure how to make sure I met all of the county requirements. So we did it this way just to make sure every single requirement that you had would be met, because we knew that was the most important. So thank you everyone for kind of helping us get started. So which group would like to report out and let us know your ideas or what you have? Heather, did you have a group you wanted to go first? I see you raising your hand there. No? No. So is there a group that would like to report out? I have the Services and Resources Board here first. I don't know if that group would like to, yes? Okay. Yeah, so I will be quiet and I will let you talk about these ideas and just let the team know what you came up with.
Okay, but can I click on them so that I can explain, because I'm our spokesperson? This is Connie Rose.
You can. Would you like to share your screen? I could stop sharing and you could share your screen and then people will see what you're clicking on.
Or you tell me what's going to work best. How do you want to do it moving forward with all the groups?
I'm comfortable doing either, as long as you're comfortable sharing your screen so that we can see it. That will work.
I'm comfortable.
Okay, I stopped sharing for you.
Okay, so how am I supposed to, I don't use this platform. I'm a Zoom platform, so I share my screen.
Sherry, I would recommend you sharing the screen and allowing Connie to do the presentation. If you could open her screen for her, that would be great.
Thank you.
We've had significant issues with screen sharing challenges. So
yeah. Okay, so I'll just, as you go, I'll click on each one for you. So I'll be your technologist. As you talk, I'll just work through them.
Okay, so don't click on the top one.
Okay.
Click on the second one that says ongoing emergency drop-in center.
I'm there.
Okay, and can you expand it for me? Oh, well, it didn't put all everything that we put in there. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'll just tell you so it's about having a very robust long-term drop-in center. So one of the things that we do not have in Hillsborough County is a drop-in center for human trafficking, focusing specifically on sex trafficking. So what would that look like? But that's kind of a piggyback to what we really do need to start with. So what we really need to start with is, can you drop down to the emergency drop-in center? Okay, and can you expand that for me? And so I did some homework before this and reached out to some other areas that have held Super Bowls and had survivor advisory boards. And one of the things that they had suggested was that we do an emergency drop-in center, and actually more than one throughout the county. And it would be pre-game, game of the week, and post-game. Pre-game would be 2 weeks, of course, then the week of the game, and then post 2 weeks after. Because as we know is that they don't just come in the week of Super Bowl. It's starting to trickle, right? It trickles even a month ahead of time, but that 2 weeks before is crucial during the game week. And then, of course, 2 weeks after, because you can't get everyone placed and moved around. And some folks are still hanging around, partying, but more importantly, there's still victims that are being trafficked. So that's that one.
Connie, can I ask a quick question? What is a drop-in center?
So a drop-in center can be a place. So let's just say, let's say the portico gives us an area there, a pretty nice area. So in that drop-in center, if in fact there's sting operations going on, it can be coordinated with law enforcement to have all the service providers there, meaning drug rehab would be, domestic violence would be there, trafficking organizations would be there, as well as law enforcement. And then where do they need to go? So is the first place they need to go is rehab. Maybe possibly it's to go into an emergency shelter, maybe similar to what we have set up for COVID. However, there needs to be security on premises. So defining what services that particular victim needs at that time. And, you know, honestly, if in fact there's something else that law enforcement feels and warrants that needs to be done with that particular survivor or victim. So it's all in one place so that we can push them through where they need to go. And then in with that, there could be emergency beds. And we could determine how many emergency beds could we put in there, but it would be like a 24-hour emergency bed. It would really be about, we need to put them someplace right now. Again, wraparound services are there, and so we can disperse them back out. Because we have no idea, we have no idea how many individuals would have to be served within basically that 5-week period.
Connie, everybody mute their phones, please. Allow the presenter to. Kevin, you need to mute your phone.
Could I ask Connie a question too? Because I know Created has a drop-in center. So is drop-in center the right terminology? Because it sounds more like it would be like a human trafficking assessment center more than a drop-in center. But we can we can talk about that
Right, we
later.
can-
but
Right,
Yeah.
and it would be about we're going to need more than one.
yes,
We're
yeah,
going to need them like one in South County,
right.
one by closer to the stadium. We're going to need them to be strategic. And then I'll roll into the second part of that in another phase before I do what the rest of the team did. But thanks, Dottie. Okay, so let me just roll with what the next one would be, and then I'll roll into there. So, well, just go ahead and let me see what they are, and I can just pull it from there. So what's the next one? A place to collaborate resources. So it's about one place that we can all come together and be very collaborative. What are all our resources that we have in Hillsborough County? But then we've got to be mindful that we've got to expand out past Hillsborough County. We need to go all the way to Orlando, Daytona Beach, and we need to go as far south as Naples, because the conversation that is out there right now within the trafficker network, someone kind of gave me some privy to this, and law enforcement probably already knows all this, is that they're already figuring out we're going to target them in Hillsborough County, so they're going out. So about collaborating within our own services, in our own network, but who do we expand back out with, which would take us to the next one about coordination servicing with surrounding counties. But again, that expansion of the counties is not just Pasco, Polk, Hernando, and Pinellas. We've got to go broader. We probably even need to go north into Hernando, because Hernando is a great safe haven because nobody thinks about it, right? Like you can go hide out there. So then there's that part about making trafficking training available to everyone, exploring different ways to do that, different links. Do we do it in person? Do we do it virtual? We found a combination of both works best. Outreach for victims, again, it's a list of our resources and our services. We need to be very comprehensive, because I have a list and it is not a comprehensive list at all. So it's going to take us collectively of who do we know, right? Because we all know different people, and how do we bring them in? And we need to vet them. I know that's not on here, but I want to make sure, I would like to propose that all programs are vetted. Because just because they say they offer services does not mean that they are trauma-informed care, victim-centered, and client-centered practice. So it's very important to do that. I think that also just kind of falls down into the human trafficking coordination of care. So again, it's that connection. So I think we're a little redundant. Inventory of all services all the way down to South Florida. An app. Yes, so it would be fabulous if we had some kind of app, but with that, we want to be mindful of continuity. So continuity of what number, how do victims find services? So right now we know that continuity is Polaris Project and the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. We know it's not perfect, right? But we also know that Miami's was not perfect. They had a lot of glitches. Atlanta's was not perfect. They had a lot of glitches. So maybe it's about us reaching out to Polaris, the National Human Trafficking Hotline number, and hey, this is what we need. Can you do this? And if you can't, then we go and see what we can create of our own. But we don't have a lot of time between now and Super Bowl. We don't have that year and a half to build out. But an app, even in the future, would be incredible. And then also the you can see who's law enforcement, right? And then also the locating services. Absolutely. I don't know much about that. So whoever suggested, if they'd like to pop in, because we did not have time to go through and talk about each category. So I'm kind of doing some off the cuff.
Lee, do you want to pipe in on that one and assist Connie on it?
You're on mute.
Sure, it's a way for us to map out all the services that we have and which one's closest to you. That can be in the app or on the website.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
So wow, you guys put that together really fast. Very impressive. And so I love the list. You will have access to this list through that same link that you have. And I'm just going to tell you what you can do with it when you get back together and work with it is if you click on this high priority button, it'll sort. You see how you made them priority? It'll put your priorities, your high priorities first, and then your medium, and then your lows, so that you'll really be able to work with the list how it works best for you.
Okay.
Or you can sort by topic, or you could sort by user team. So each person's ideas would be grouped together.
Okay.
And then we won't do it right now because I don't want to create any confusion, but you actually could have everyone on your group really look at which of these ideas do you like the most, and they would be able to click on this green plus sign. And so anytime they clicked on a green plus sign, it would give it a like. And so if you wanted to know real quickly in your group which ones people wanted to work on first, you could use that, and then you'd be able to sort it and then refresh it that way. So as you're working with the data in your that your group came up with and moving forward with your group, you'll be able to sort it however it works for your team, and then you can start looking at who else do you want to add to your team to be able to make these things happen. So you guys did a great job.
Thanks. We do have a question, and maybe somebody else might have it in another group. So for instance, I have a couple that showed up as low, and we tried to go back in because they needed to be higher up on the list, and we could not get it to save it. So maybe when everybody comes together again, collectively, you could share that with us, how we would be able to do that.
Okay, and then I'll just tell you quickly, but I'll be able to tell you then if you double click on it, I mean, if you're having issues, we'll help it. But if I wanted to change this to medium, I would click on medium and save.
I did do that. It would not let me scroll all the way down to the bottom to save.
Okay, so I'll work on that with you individually, but yes, excellent question.
Okay.
Any other questions that you have for this group that worked on services and resources? Does anybody have any questions or anything that you want them to hear?
Can I just add, as we were talking about this in the thought process, is that we want to be very inclusive. So we're also talking not just adults, we're talking minors, we're talking boys, we're talking our LGBTQ community. Okay, so we're very comprehensive. So I want to make sure that that's out there.
So I have a question. If there's what I see here is emergency drop-in center and then drop-in center for long term. Is that similar? And what I heard, I think Dottie say, that was an assessment center. So my question, because we were on the legal judicial side, is this prior to ever? I mean, is this assuming someone is saying, "Hi, I'm a victim," or is this means a law enforcement person has found this circumstances and recognized they don't go to the jail, they go to the center first? Is that?
Yes.
So yes, so an assessment center is a combination of both, right? And law enforcement, you guys jump in. But my experience is that the assessment center would be a combination of law enforcement, bringing them in because, in fact, there was a sting and they just kind of got caught up in the sting, and or they have self-identified, this is what's happening to me, can you please help me? So it's both.
Okay, thank you.
I think what we're talking about, just to clarify, is that initially during the Super Bowl, before and after, we would have these multiple, it would be great to always have them, but these multiple 24/7 drop-in centers, but that at the very least, at the end of this, we would have maybe a care coordinator or a place that would connect everyone, law enforcement, folks that we're calling that were survivors, as well as service providers. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting to me that we kind of all came up with this one idea, one kind of focus, without having much chance to talk about it. So,
oh, nice, good.
Good job, Connie.
Thank you, thank you.
Could I just add one thing too? I mean, excellent work, you guys. There's a great example and model in Miami that State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle put together. They have a one-stop shop. I don't know what they call it. I think it's an assessment center explaining, just is what you've explained. So that might be something to look at, what they have done in Miami. But I like the idea of separate different drop-in centers all over, and then maybe having one centralized, I don't know, assessment center, such as what is in Miami through Catherine Rundle.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could use a crisis center, sexual assault services to hop off on that, but also maybe some of the hospitals. Maybe there's some other areas that we could build into. I'm very excited about this.
Well, in the past, when we have done this, it's a lot of churches will come forward.
There you go.
Yeah. So that would be my thought. Would be in the 3 sections that maybe we would look at in the county is what large church could be able to give this to us basically for 5 weeks.
And we could respond not only law enforcement and human trafficking advocates, but also a nurse, sexual assault nurse examiner, if that was necessary. I mean, we just have the resources between all the agencies, I think, that we can put this together.
Right.
She's already helping with the stakeholder map. This is great. All right, so anything else for this group?
This is Major Harris. I just had a question more than anything, if it's the appropriate time.
Sure.
I just, the drop-in centers and stuff like that, obviously these places, they're not secure, correct? So the person, let's say we had a sting operation, we come in contact with a human trafficking victim that we believe to be a victim based on, information that we got on scene, from prior intel that we have. This is the case oftentimes. If we take them to a drop-in facility in lieu of jail, is it a secure facility, or can they just simply say, I don't want to be here? Because most times we got victims that are uncooperative. What does that look like when we drop them off there and they say, I don't want to be here, see you later?
Well, that's always their choice. Unless you are arresting them, it is their choice if they want to be there or not. Right. It's about how do we present it? How do we do it and how we present it in such a way of really about how are you doing, taking care. So when you're doing victim centered, client centered, it's what do you need right now?
Right.
And you take care of that first before you dive into anything else. And then you start having a conversation. And then, of course, with conversation with law enforcement, hey, you know what? They're really high. They're higher than a kite. Even though we could see that. Okay, well, then the next would be, hey, let's kind of bring in rehab, drug rehab. Let them get to know who's drug rehab, or it's the DV shelter, or it's another, whatever resource. But as far as secure, that's going to be up to law enforcement to help make it secure.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. I mean, all of the operations we do, I would say 99% of the females that we come in contact with, there's drugs involved. They're high on
right
most of the times, and we're put in a difficult position because we actually the consensus is not to arrest, right. And we'd love to have that option. The problem is we don't have that option because if we're looking to actually arrest and convict a trafficker, we need the victim to be able to move forward. So we're almost forced to utilize the jail system because what happens is we'll take, someone that we obviously feel is a victim of human trafficking and we put them in jail and they actually have the opportunity to get sobered up because it is a secure facility. Then, we see a lot of success when our investigators go back to the jail. We don't just put them in jail and leave them there. Mm-hmm. We put them in jail, we give it a couple days. We'll go follow up with them, and 9 times out of 10, they're in a different mindset. They're not high anymore. They want to speak to us. Those interviews go a lot better than they do right when, we make contact when these people are, obviously under the influence of narcotics. So, we almost have to use the jail facility to be able to actually get them, in a sober state where we can actually speak to them and investigate their case of trafficking. I think, a secure, rehab facility in lieu of arrest where they can actually be arrested. And instead of taken to jail, they're taken to a secure drug treatment facility based on the officer's discretion, because that is the main problem that we see out here. And until that gets addressed, where we can actually, get these people to a secure drug treatment facility, I think it's going to be an uphill battle going forward.
Well, respectively, if I may, our end game is not for them to be arrested, but to receive services. And so I hear what you're saying, and I respect, law enforcement's position. However, there are a lot of victims and survivors that will come, and helping out law enforcement is not their end game.
So for this meeting, though, this is such a great conversation, because what I hear is that when you're creating your stakeholder map, that you will definitely want to include someone from law enforcement in your stakeholder group, and that this will be great for your future brainstorming. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Major Harris. And I think that's great feedback, because now as you're moving forward in this working group, you'll know that that'll be one of the components for your stakeholders, and then you'll really be able to take that further in your action steps and look for the research or the information that you want. So that's excellent. This is an excellent, you guys did that perfectly. I didn't even have to look for a volunteer, but that's an excellent way of saying how showing your brainstorming board and discussing it in the big group will really help you when you're getting your stakeholder group together. So thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so my next board that I have up here is going to be our group here. Do we have another group that wants to go first, though?
Actually, I'd like to do the legislative, because it ties into the conversation we just had. Or okay, it's in line with where it it flows into it. So if you don't mind, we really just threw ideas up there and really didn't get a chance to explore them at length, because I'm very technology challenged, apparently. But I did.
No, it's because I was in your group. But go ahead.
Okay, I'll go there. But appreciate the blame on somebody else. So, but what we talked a little bit about are the ideas that I threw up there, and Major Harris threw up there, and we lost Julianne Holt a little bit, so she may want to add some ideas there. But in line with what we just heard, where I had some concerns about our process of the individual, of the victim side, and then the other side, the process for investigating the trafficker and buyer. Because we've had conversations in the past that said, if we don't, and this is to Connie, to your point of it's going other counties, so we have to spread out. We've made it very clear, if you're going to traffic, don't come to Hillsborough, go away. But so we're doing some good things. We're helping communicate to traffickers and buyers, you don't have a place here. But we still need to have those investigations. Those investigations still have to facilitate. And to Major Harris's comment, it's hard to do that if you don't have a sober witness. And it's also hard to detain them, to get them there without a legal process, because you don't have the right to retain someone unless they are either potentially committed a crime or they're potentially at risk of harming themselves, like under Marchman Act or Baker Act or some other term. So they have every right to walk away before we ever have a chance to do a full investigation and support and offer that assessment of the resources they need in order to help them get to a place where they can make a choice. So the therapeutic court was something that I thought of. If we have a way of addressing those legal challenges and the process, immediate secure drug treatment for human trafficking is clearly something that has to be part of that process, since the prevalence of controlling the victim has been, or the victim becoming more vulnerable has been, drug as a facilitator. So if that is a high prevalence, besides poor, with no income, no opportunity, and lack of hope, no housing, those are the other facilitators of trafficking victims. That element of immediate secure drug treatment for human trafficking victims was something that was listed by Andrew Harris. And then I was really looking at the whole victim criminal arrest process, which is sort of could fall up into the court system. But it has to happen before we ever get to the courts. It has, whatever our process looks like before it ever ends up in front of a judge, which is a combination of working with law enforcement, our assessment centers, and then our service providers in order to help that person, in slavery, no matter what their circumstances, have an opportunity to be a witness instead of a criminal. And so that was part of it. And then, as I suggested, the traffic arrest process, or the focusing on the buyer trafficker process, needs to be our priority. We've focused on the victim to some extent, which is critically important, obviously. But that's because they've been the one that has been arrested right up front. And unfortunately, with the paradigm and implicit bias of possibly of them being in prostitution by choice. Whereas if we focused our efforts on stopping a crime in our community, and the crime is trafficking, whether that be sex trafficking or labor trafficking, but stopping the crime and investigating the crime and the criminal, the buyer, instead of the victim. If that approach in the legal, either in our ordinances, in the legal process, or in our court system, and making sure the judiciary is very aware of the sort of change of paradigm in the legal process. And then recruiting assistance statewide, because as Connie mentioned, if we send the message, go somewhere else, and there's no statewide legislation or process, that loophole will just hop around the state. So I think at some point in time we would need to work with the state, clearly, for like the hotline and the reporting and working with Polaris and all of those kinds of things. So that's as far as I got. If Julianne wants to pop in and offer her, because I don't see the cards that you may have created that are not there.
Commissioner, the only thing I'd add is just that we probably have to have some type of widespread training in terms of from law enforcement to the court system and everything, just to really ferret out how to identify the victims, how to not re-victimize the victims, and how to manage the services that are going to be provided based on the assessments that are done. And then I think at some point we have to decide, do we want to treat this as a community public health type of issue versus the criminalization of the victims of human trafficking, and in particularly not to use the system to force victims to do things that they may not be prepared to do. So I think that's all I would like to add at this point.
That's excellent. Yeah, we can, I don't know how to add that.
I'll add it as soon as we're done.
Okay.
I made a note.
All right. So I'm done, I think, unless Major Harris, is there something that I did not explain correctly that you'd like to fill in?
No, I think you covered it, and I can speak for my agency only, but obviously the last thing we would want to do is arrest a human trafficking victim. Our priority is to, like you said, go after the trafficker, go after the buyer. I know, like last year, for instance, our squad made 199 arrests that were either human trafficking or prostitution related, and close to 70% of those 200 arrests were male sex buyers. So we take it very seriously, and we're very passionate about going after the buyers because it does reduce the demand, and it sends a strong, stern message, especially when your photos are plastered all over the news. And, we have groups of 10, 15, 20 arrested at a time. So I think the drug treatment route really needs to be there sooner than later, because at the end of the day, that's how we make these traffickers accountable.
Okay.
This is Judge Figueroa, and I just want to chime in briefly that the courts also, want to do what we can with the situation. And I think Julie hit the nail on the head. We don't want to be re-victimizing these victims in our courtrooms, and we want to make sure that we have an end game in sight. We can't keep them tied up in court for the long run.
Right. Yeah.
Can I make a comment? This is Dottie. Julianne knows, and Judge Figueroa and Mr. Warren, we've been talking about a human trafficking treatment court for like almost 2 years that would do exactly what we're talking about now. So this is excellent as a safety net for women. So they're not re-victimized and arrested. And then as a component of that human trafficking treatment court have, for lack of a better term, a John school, but that's not the term that we like to use, but an educational component for buyers. And then, of course, sanctions for those who buy. So my heart is just overjoyed right now with this conversation.
So this is wonderful. I want to make sure that the last two groups just get to give you an overview of what they talked about, because I know that they have some great ideas here. So this is our communication and media. Was that the title of this group? And so who would like to speak for this?
Hey, Sherry, it's Rob Staley.
Okay.
Just briefly, just to touch on, any good communications and media campaign. The more eyes we have on it, the better. Some of our partners that we identified in our community would be obviously our law enforcement participation. We would have a print campaign that officers on the street can relay along with an app. I think it's a fantastic idea. Identified partners in the hotel and dining industry, transportation outreach, and our faith-based partners, as well as the chambers of commerce. As far as, some additional assets that we would need, we'd probably have to reach out to our television partners. We'd obviously use all types of social media, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'd reach out to our schools and have some sort of education for our schools, and a resource for our recreation and community centers as well. Another idea that Liz came up with was community-based and neighborhood-based sports teams reaching out. There's hundreds of leagues of all ages throughout the Tampa Bay area, reaching out to them and help them to identify high-risk communities. And obviously with our messaging campaign, another big thing that we focused on was inclusiveness of all individuals, including getting literature out there in English, Mandarin, and Cantonese, advertising to all different aspects of the community, anyone that would be at risk. And then obviously our our target is to reach out to have an expanded outreach that would include the Bay Area and beyond. So that's what we've come up with in our group.
This is a great list. Does anyone have any questions for Rob? This is really fantastic.
This is Connie Rose. Did you have any conversations of what imaging would look like? Because that is a very hot topic, especially in the survivor community, to make sure that it's not about handcuffs and tape over survivors' mouths and dog cages and those kinds of things. So as we're putting together campaigns, to be very mindful what kind of images are being used.
Right. We did discuss removing the stigma associated with human trafficking. And,
Thank you.
And identifying all different types of victims.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
It's interesting you should say that. I'm doing a public safety announcement video this afternoon with Crime Stoppers. So, we paid close attention to those kinds of characterizations in this particular video. So,
this is Liz, if I can chime into the conversation. Liz Gutierrez. So for me, the question of imaging is a very important one, Connie, as you described. I was trying to think about it in a much broader perspective in terms of telling the story of Tampa Bay. This is a Super Bowl. Lots of hundreds of people, thousands of people will hear about Tampa Bay once again. They'll conjure images in their minds about what kind of place this is. And to the extent that we can talk about the area in terms of the place as well as its people and highlight the values of this community in terms of being a tolerant place where people have equal opportunities, right, to live out their fullest potential, that becomes sort of the bigger message, that is the big unifying message. And then you infuse it, obviously, with information about anti-trafficking so that you tell the story of place by talking about its people in the highest and best terms as a means to say human trafficking is not allowed, kind of thing. But to say it in a way that it's positive, to say it in a way that it's, that everyone can say, yeah, that's the kind of place I want. And so therefore, this is not the kind of activity we will tolerate. So infusing an anti-trafficking message and connecting it to people, connecting it to place.
I'm good.
I love that. And I wonder, I want to make sure that our education and awareness group reports out, and I wonder if they have anything that they're going to add for that. So we're going to give you the floor here because I know we only have about 6 minutes left, and I want to make sure everyone hears your great ideas to round us out.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for leaving the best group for last. To remind the group, we had Corporal Baker keeping time, the Honorable Karen Perez, our Chief Judge Ron Ficarota, and Brina Taylor, and we were all very, very engaged. And I think what's really important is that this subcommittee really informs the Communications and Media Subcommittee. We create the content that gets delivered and how it gets delivered. And so we had a lot of conversation around being clear and concise and the terminology being simple. I think there may be some confusion in the general public about what human trafficking really is and its many shapes and forms. And so really defining the message and making it very, very clear. Obviously, the last speaker very articulately mentioned a brand, a symbol, what it means to be a victim, what it means, the work we're doing. So again, branding, the symbolism that is required. We talked about brands that are highly recognizable, like the McDonald's arches or the Nike swoosh. I think, our human trafficking task force should develop a symbol that we are a safe place and what it all means. And then target audiences and what messages we're delivering to those target audiences. When we're speaking to victims, the message can be of one shape. When we're talking to the general public to get engaged and help curtail the issue, that's a different message. So again, informing that communications and media team on how to address different target groups. You know, somebody mentioned our honorable school board member, how Sesame Street addresses topics with young people. They target the messaging to that audience. And so again, targeting the message to all of our very unique audiences, and then, you know, how to deliver that message under current world situations, right? We have a pandemic, we have some civil unrest, and we have, you know, folks wanting to have their voices heard. How do we not get our message diluted in what's happening so that our message also rises to the top? And obviously, you know, we're talking about, yes, during Super Bowl, how those messages are delivered, but beyond Super Bowl and before Super Bowl, how those messages are delivered and to those target audiences. So, you know, we felt that, you know, we're the content maker of what this task force stands for and will be doing, and how we are then communicating that through our communications and media group. And so, again, very animated conversation, lots of great ideas. And I know I'm trying to keep it short and simple, but I think you get the gist of what we were talking about.
So fantastic. And so the one thing that I hope everybody was able to see is that using some different tools, even though it might be a little painful getting started with technology, and working in the different groups will really allow you to bring up your ideas. And then your next steps, Dr. Curry will get back to you, but it's really going to be creating that stakeholder map. As you reported out, you saw that you'll need different people in your groups to really get to where you want to go faster. And then being able to come together as a group, have some team agreements, and really create your action plans. So, Commissioner, thank you very much for allowing me to be with you today, and I will turn it back over to you.
Well, excellent. And I really appreciate everyone taking the time today. This is a good start. Just in case anybody thought we were going to get it all done. This is an excellent start, and I appreciate the ideas, the thoughts, the participation, and the commitment to doing this. We do have a lot of work to do between now and next spring, and actually a lot of it needs to be done by October and November. So if you thought you had the summer off, sorry. I thought I was going to, not me either. So, but I do truly appreciate the thought process and the commitment to this. And so, as we're navigate through gathering all this information and so cross-sectioning it, we'll work through Dr. Curry, and as well as the committee, we'll report on, when's it, Tuesday? When's our board meeting? Tuesday?
Wednesday.
All my days are running together, so tell me when to show up. But on Wednesday, when we have our board meeting, we'll do a summary report on this, and to make sure that the entire board is on board, that may or may not be here today, and then set the timelines for how we can move forward. So thanks, everybody. It's 12 o'clock on the dot, so we'll let those that have other things that they've got to take care of go do. And have a terrific, safe weekend. Thank you. Dr. Curry, you want to wrap up?
Just one quick thing. If everyone, you probably didn't appoint an official liaison from your group, but if you want that person to be the reporter, if we can get together, the very next step will be setting your next meeting with your group. So we'll talk about that. I'll run it through Deborah, who I know is on the call, to make sure that everybody honors Sunshine Law. We'll figure all of that stuff out. It's been complex, but thanks everyone for your patience and your time, and thank you so much, Sherry, for conducting that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very, very much, Sherry. This is tremendous. Cool. This is cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Great meeting.
Bye.